Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Blocks Gone session. I'm Roddy Telfer, and I'm your host for today as we dive into this special live Q&A event with the one and only Peggy McColl. Today, we're not just learning concepts, we're focusing on you and how you can remove the blocks and resistance standing between you and the life you envision. No matter where you are in life right now, we all have some kind of block and a certain level of resistance. Some might even be invisible to you right now, as we were just talking there with Vladdy. Maybe you're the CEO of a multi-million dollar company looking to reach even higher levels, or perhaps you're a busy working mum wanting more freedom and flexibility to focus on what truly matters. Maybe you're an entrepreneur in the making or feeling stuck in the 9 to 5, like I once was, dreaming of stepping into a life of purpose and financial freedom. The truth is, clearing the resistance that holds us back is essential to lasting success. These blocks can keep us from new opportunities, from stepping into greater abundance, and from achieving the happiness and freedom we desire. And that's why we're here today. So it's my absolute pleasure to introduce Peggy McColl, someone who has not only walked this path, but has spent well over 40 years helping people overcome their resistance to achieve remarkable transformations. As you know, Peggy's a recognized expert in personal development and manifestation, a New York Times best-selling author of 23 books. So far, might have changed in the last few minutes that we've talked. And she's shared the stage with some of the world's most respected thought leaders like Bob Proctor, Jack Canfield, amongst many, many others. Peggy's here today to help guide you through the very steps that have brought her to a life of abundance, purpose, and fulfillment. So, without further ado, please join me. Give a virtual round of applause to Peggy McColl as we uncover how to clear the blocks, create breakthroughs, and open up the life you're meant to live. Peggy, are you ready for some questions to help serve our wonderful audience?
Born ready, Roddy, and thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking charge with this. For everyone that's on here, I just want you to know this was Roddy's idea to do this event today. He's always in the spirit of how can we serve even better, and this was such a brilliant idea, and I was an absolute yes answer for me. And as Roddy said before he hit the record button, he does have a series of questions ready for me, and I have no idea what they are, but I'm absolutely excited about this. I love doing interviews. I love it. I just thrive with those kinds of things because I feel that spirit guides me. And I really believe that it helps also having the 46 years of study, under my belt as well. So let's rock and roll, Roddy. Let's serve everyone. Perhaps, today people are going to have a breakthrough. You may hear something today. I know we've got some familiar looking faces on here. We have some graduates of our program. We have people that are in our current programs. We have people who are looking for more. Maybe you're at a point where you're frustrated as well. I certainly have been there, and not just once. I mean, this is something that can occur over and over again because we're really talking about paradigms today, and it's a belief system that's within all of you. So I love the subject. Grateful for you, Roddy. Grateful for Vladdy. Grateful for Kayla. They're also here, ready to serve. What you and Vladdy were talking about before you started was absolutely brilliant. In fact, I took 2 pages of notes here while you were talking, just really reemphasizing these brilliant truths that every one of us has the power to make positive change in our life. And like Vladdy said before we started, it costs nothing to make a decision to make the change. So that was so good. Really, really good. So I appreciate everyone for investing the time to be here. We are going to serve you at our highest level, as we often do, and we recognize how precious your time is. So, all right, Roddy, take it away.
Okay, well, yeah, obviously this event's all about blocks and sort of overcoming them, particularly resistance. But just to kind of give people a picture of you, Peggy, obviously your sort of journey of personal development kind of began in what, 1979. If you take me back to like just before you were sort of walking through those seminar doors with Bob, going into Bob Proctor's seminar, somewhere that I know you don't want to be, I know you weren't a happy person, but can you tell me a bit about what was going on with your life at that moment in time, and some of the blocks and resistance that maybe you knew you had, but equally you probably weren't even aware of?
Right. Yeah, exactly. You're absolutely right. At that time in my life, I mean, I was completely unaware, and I really believe that awareness is extremely valuable. And that was something else that you and Vladdy were talking about. Awareness is valuable. In fact, Vladdy wrote it down before the words even came out of your mouth. And at the time I was ignorant, meaning not knowing. I had no idea. I had no idea that I had the potential to change my life. I had no idea that the misery that I was experiencing was somewhat self-induced. And I say somewhat because as a child, like I was young when I got into these materials. And as a child, we're not at a point yet, at least as a young child, to have that ability to reject ideas that are you're taking into your consciousness, through observation. And so I was raised in a home that was dysfunctional, that was quite disruptive, I would say. It was abusive, definitely. And I'm not blaming my parents. I think my parents really, really did do the best they could with what they knew. And I believe that they loved us, but never heard those words, as a child. So I was pretty much a suicidal teenager. I really was. And I didn't feel worthy of living. I didn't feel that. I just thought of myself as worthless in every way. And I absolutely had some beliefs that were wrong. I mean, they were incorrect, beliefs such as I didn't believe that I was or had an opportunity to thrive or to be wealthy in this world. I really felt that I was one of those chosen ones. And I think there's some people that still believe that they feel that it's, God's, means, or it's sort of like his will, which is not true. Absolutely not true at all. But I believe that that's the way it was for me. And I think it's important to understand that because it was a very dark and bleak and miserable situation that I was in. And sometimes we don't see what really goes on for people, when the lights are out or when the doors are closed, etc. And I used to cry myself to sleep. I mean, I was really quite miserable. But the other thing is, and this was an ignorant understanding too, meaning not knowing, I used to seek for a better feeling place from things outside of myself. So, in other words, if I just had the right boyfriend, or if I just had the right job, or if this kind of magically would happen in my life, then I would experience something within. It's backward. That's actually backward thinking, but I didn't know it. And as you're asking me the question, Roddy, I was just imagining a child who has their arms stretched out, like, no, I'm not going, their arms and their legs stretched out. Like I think about coming through a doorway, and if I put my arms and my legs out, held myself back from coming in, then that's the way I was as it related to even going to that seminar of Bob Proctor. I was working for a company in Toronto, was born and raised in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And the company that I worked for, there was a director there by the name of Duncan Forche. And Duncan had heard about Bob Proctor, had seen him at some point, and decided that he wanted to hire Bob to come in and do a kickoff event for the company I was working for. And what I didn't realize at the time, and I discovered this later in life, is that Bob had given up the business. At that point, he was not doing seminars anymore. He had made a decision just before that to not be in this business. He had had a very challenging situation occur in his life where his life was actually threatened. And he decided, this is not worth it. I'm not doing this business anymore. And that was in 1979. So he got out of the business. And he didn't necessarily go into hiding, but his life had been threatened. So he found himself in Atlanta, Georgia. And Bob's also from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And he was at his aunt's home. And somehow, some way, Duncan Forte found him. And I really believe that's part of, what we attract into our lives, right? And when Duncan contacted Bob and said, hey, Bob, I want you to do this event. At first, Bob was like, no, I'm out of the business. I'm not doing this work anymore. Forget it. But Duncan persisted, and I'm glad he did, because what Duncan did that day really changed my life. It absolutely changed my life. So I didn't go to that seminar willingly. I went very reluctantly, but for some reason, I just opened my mind. And I think it's very important to open our minds to new information, new ideas that could potentially change our life. So that was the start of it. And like Vladdy said, you know, it doesn't cost anything to make a decision. I made a decision that evening that I was going to do the work. I had no idea how much work it would be. I had no idea how long it would take. And this is what I want everyone here to think about as well. You know, as I looked around the room before we started today, we have a lot of people here who have been in the seminars for a long time. I look at Jackie G, who it's like 3:10 in the morning from New Zealand, and here she is, you know, 3:10 in the morning. And she's somebody who was willing to. I met her in California. I've known her for a long, long time. And Jackie G, like me, and many others that are here, you know, I see a lot of familiar faces, understand the commitment that it takes to, it's a lifetime. It really is a lifetime commitment to make the positive changes in your life. And even when you make those changes in your mind and your get rid of the blocks or whatever, they're still there. They're still a part of you. So I'm probably getting a little ahead of myself here, Roddy. Tend to answer questions a little longer than
No, it's all good. Love it. It's all so valuable. So thank you. Obviously, you know, you talked about the seminar that you were at, and I know one statement that you use quite a lot, and clearly, you know, you gained so much information that something opened up in your consciousness that you were receptive to it. Like obviously, you know,
Yes.
from being so resistant to suddenly being like a sponge for it. But I know one statement was Bernard Howard, you know, you can't escape a prison if you do not know you're in one.
Right.
That obviously is sort of maybe the lasting memory that you take from that seminar. Like, why why was that so profound for you at that point in time?
Yeah, what a good question. I have goosebumps even as you're asking the question because it it helped me realize that. Like think about that statement. You cannot escape from a prison unless you know you're in one. It's like it I felt like all the power to make the change was over to me, which I felt good about, right? Like when you think about that just for a moment, that if you think that the change for your life is going to come from something outside of you, then there's no control, right? There's no control. So when Bob said that, you know, that when he quoted Vernon Howard and said, you cannot escape from a prison of our own making, right? The prison is what we create as an illusion. So my illusion was that I wasn't worthy of life and I wasn't worthy of success. I wasn't worthy of love. I wasn't worthy of anything. And so if that's the illusion, you can't escape from that unless you recognize that it's there. And that's why I love doing blocks gone or helping people understand what they are, because if we don't know that they're there or we don't understand what caused the present condition and we're willing to look at it without judgment, then it's not necessarily going to stay the same. It'll likely get worse. It will absolutely get worse. I love the analogy that Vladdy gave before we started today. Vladdy, this was so brilliant. She said, if you have a leak in your roof, now think about this. If you have a leak in your roof, you're going to fix it, right? You're going to fix it. Now, you may not have the money, but you're going to find the money to fix it. Why? Because if you don't, what's going to happen? You're going to have further damage, right? It's going to make it worse. The scenario is going to be worse. And as she said that, it really struck me in that moment because I realized that, you know, we all have leaks in our roof. We all have these leaks in our roof. They are called blocks, right? They're called negative, destructive beliefs. Now, there's no judgment from any of us at Dynamic Destinies. Roddy's not going to judge you. Vladdy's not going to judge you. Kayla's not going to judge you. Peggy's not going to judge you. It's so important to recognize this. In fact, yesterday I was on a call with one of my very cherished private mentoring clients. And she had said to me that she realized, I just want to see if she's on the call right now, that she realized that she's not here right now, that she had a belief within her, and it was similar to a belief that I had within me. And the belief that she was referencing was the belief that I shared about about the a feeling of unworthiness as it relates to love. And the truth is that when that belief is there, like the leak in the roof, and we don't do something about it, it just creates more damage in our lives. Just like if you don't fix the roof in your house, it's going to just create, it may not be a problem today. It's a sunny day out there, it's a gorgeous day. So it might not be a problem. Like, what's the big deal, right? Like, I don't see any reason to fix this. But there may come a day where, there's some kind of a devastating torrential downpour, and that's the kind of thing that can happen. The truth is that in life, we're all faced with adversity. We are. I mean, it happens. It's just part of this cycle of life. It's not that it's not going to happen. It is going to happen. It's just how prepared will you be? Now, I'm certainly not a gloom and doom kind of person. I'm not, but I'm a logical person. I'm a common sense person. And, I have found that when I've gone through those challenging times, that the conditioning that I've created in my own mind and the study that I'm involved with every single day contributes to getting past it, to overcome those situations with great ease. So when we think about Vernon Howard's quote, you can't escape from a prison unless you know you're in one, that wasn't just something for me that occurred in 1979. It's been a recurrence because as you're growing and as you're choosing to make your life better, you're going to find that these little, I was thinking demons was the word that came to my mind, these little paradigms, these negative destructive paradigms, they keep popping up, right? You decide to do something you've never done before, and then boop, up pops the old paradigm, which gives you so much valuable information. And like even the decision, I was thinking about this morning, the decision to go for my doctorate at this point of time in my life. There was a little battle going on within, like, do you think you can do it? Do you think you have the capacity, to really complete this? It's a lot of work involved. You're a pretty busy girl and, all of that. And so could that also be a prison? Sure, it could be a form of a prison, to not go for it. And this is what happens for those of you, and I'm sure some of you can really relate to what I'm talking about here right now, where you decide, I'm going to do something I've never done before. And then, boop, up pops the negative belief. And you have to just simply recognize that that's just part of the evolvement, right? We are evolving beings. It's like layers that we're peeling off. We're peeling off another layer and we're bringing out a greater and grander version of who we are. And so, it's much more profound to me today, Roddy, that quote by Vernon Howard, than it was back then. But the thing that really struck me is that I have control. I have control and I have the ability to change my life. I don't have to go anywhere. I can do it. And that's what really inspired me to make a decision that evening. I'm going to invest in Bob's program. He had an 8-week program, and I said, sign me up. Now, I didn't have the money to do it. And at the time, thankfully, credit cards weren't, put through machines that would say declined or accepted. And so I knew my credit card was up near the limit somewhere, but they ran it through on one of those little manual machines and I was in. So it's like, woohoo! I was very grateful that I was able to get into that program. And then I repeated it and repeated it and repeated it and repeated it and just never stopped.
Brilliant. Obviously, Bob Proctor was one of your mentors. I know you studied with lots of other people as well, and clearly Bob had a massive effect on you and your life, and I'm sure you must have like learned so many lessons from him. But if you could sort of sum up, and it might be difficult, but maybe your
Oh
top
no, it's
like
easy.
three, the top three that really stands out, like when you think of Bob, and like where would the top three kind of be on that level?
Right. I love that. I love that question. What a great question, Roddy. All right. The first one would be the greatest lesson I've ever learned in all of the years of study is that you don't have to know how. You do not have to know how. And I want you all to think about that right now and think about something that you would absolutely love to have or to do or to be or to experience in your life. Recognize that you don't have to know how you're going to do it. You don't have to know where the money's going to come from. You don't have to know who's going to be there to sort of guide you or support you. You just have to make a decision that this is done. So That was the biggest lesson. Number one was you don't have to know how, but the second one is relevant to the first one, and that is you have to make a decision. It's like Bob used to say, name it and claim it, name it and claim it, name it and claim it. This sort of like burned in my mind, name it and claim it. And it sounds simple, right? 5 words, name it and claim it. But what does that really mean? I don't think a lot of people really claim what it is that they desire. And so name it means that like you stick a fork in it, or, you commit that this, is already done. And if it's a home, as an example, I have already purchased my beautiful dream home. I'm living in it and I love it. And it's absolutely extraordinary. So that's naming it. And I think even in the naming it, having great clarity of what it is valuable to you too. It helps the universe deliver it, right? Like if I call a pizza shop and I say, deliver me a pizza, and they say, what do you want? I said, just bring me a pizza. Well, we got different sizes, we got different ingredients that we can put on it, we got different crusts, we got all these different things. Tell me what you want. And I feel the universe is like that. It says, what would you love? Like, what would you love? What do you want? So name it, that's the name it part. The claim it is accepting it as yours, believing that it is yours. Now that's going to take some time. Now, could you accept it in this moment right here, right now? Absolutely, you could. But for most people, that doesn't happen. And the reason is because of the blocks, right? These blocks that we're here to talk about today, these blocks, these paradigms, these limiting beliefs are going to you'll start to think, oh, I'd really love to do that, but, and then up pops the negative belief, up pops. Oh, that's interesting. I just got a message saying, confirm your speaking language. It sounds like you've switched to a new language, Arabic. Okay. Okay.
Certainly got the
Interesting.
capacity to learn that, yeah, or the Quran or anything else.
Right. Well, I've thought about learning Arabic, but okay. Interesting. Okay, so in an instant, yes. So claiming it, yeah. So when you make a decision, that's when the battle begins. And what a lot of people don't understand, and for those of you that have been going for a particular goal and you've set your heart on a particular goal, and if you're finding that it's not here yet, it could be that you haven't fully accepted it and that you're not giving your attention to it as being in your life now, in this present moment. So name it and claim it is the second one. And then the third one is really, I think about this question a lot because Bob used to ask this question, do you want it? Do you want it? I remember one time my husband and I were out on a boat ride. We were out in our boat in a local lake here. I was just looking to see if Billionaire Pete is on the line. Billionaire Pete was with us, and there was a property that was for sale on this lake, and it was about $12.5 million, and it was beautiful. It looked like it was straight out of Greece and like right on the coast. It was absolutely stunningly beautiful, very European looking, had multiple villas on the property, and I had seen it online. I showed it to my husband, and of course he was like, like, no, 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 no. That is not the type of property that I want. But I could hear Bob's voice in my head, and I could hear him saying, do you want it? Do you want it? Now I decided I didn't want it. We ended up getting a tour of the place, and I decided, no, it's not what I'm looking for. No, I don't want it. But I think that's a valuable question for anyone to ask themselves. Now, understand the blocks are going to pop up, but you can deal with them and we can give you the guidance to deal with them. But you're just asking yourself that question when you're thinking about something that you would love. Do I want it? And if you do, go for it, because you have the ability to manifest it, and it doesn't matter what it is. It's like the quote, my favorite quote by Napoleon Hill is, no more effort is required to aim high in life, to demand abundance and prosperity, than is required to accept misery and poverty. So think about that. No more effort. No more effort. You can manifest anything that you want.
Love it. Obviously, eventually on the sort of final Bob question, you ended up working closely with him. You actually set up a business as well with him
We did.
too. How did this come about? Like thinking from where Peggy once was, a pretty unhappy, miserable person to actually working with him and being a friend and a colleague and everything. Like, how did you get into business with Bob? Where did that come about from?
Yeah, that was a wonderful experience. And you know what's interesting is when we think about accomplishing certain things in our lives, I actually never had the goal to be in business with Bob. It happened, and I was in business with him. We ran a business together for a few years, and what a blessing it really was to be up close and personal, working with him and serving with him as well. But it occurred from a conversation that the two of us had one day about a property I was looking at that was a million more than what I wanted to spend at that time. And Bob was, kind of giving me one of his very loving slaps. Like, it's like, do you want it? Like, just go get it. He basically said, you're the only one standing in your way. A million is neither big nor small, only thinking makes it so. So if you want to go and get it. And I was like, oh my God, like I know this. And this is a thing for a lot of you more advanced students, those of you that have been studying this for a while, is that you may know it, but are you living it, right? Are you really living it? And by actively, stretching yourself, by growing, by making new decisions, by making better choices, by disciplining yourself every single day. And so when Bob and I had that conversation, it was like, boom, this spark of an idea came into my mind to create a book. And then it was going to be a book series. And by the way, I did get a contract recently to finally write that book, Making a Million Look Small. So it'll be my 25th book. I'm working on the moment of creation right now. And then Making a Million Look Small will come out after that. And so what happened was after I got off the call with Bob, what I did was I wrote out what he said. And he basically said, a million is neither big nor small, only thinking makes it so. If you want the property, get the property, or you are the only one standing in your way, which of course I already knew. But it was a great reminder. And sometimes we need to put these reminders in front of us so that we can impress within our own mind, because we build the blocks, the same way we build the support system, the same way we build any belief, whether it's good or bad, through impressions, right? Through repetition, by affirming and affirming and affirming and affirming. And the more intensity that's in it, the stronger it gets. That's why when somebody has a belief that is not a strong belief, that's a destructive belief, they will fight for their belief, right? It's like my husband, whenever we've looked at potentially building something, he had an experience in 1991, which wasn't a good one because he built a home with a builder and it ended up being a messy situation. So in his mind, building equals massive pain, right? So if that's the way you think, then what's the likelihood that you're going to go down that road? It's pretty much unlikely. And so that's why I wrote it out, to remind myself, put it in front of my face to remind me, which I've done over the years. But from there I just started to expand, and I did an exercise where I created $100 million plan. And think about what I said a few moments ago about Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill said, no more effort is required to aim high in life, to demand prosperity and abundance, than is required to accept misery and poverty. So can any of you create $100 million plan? Can any of you actually attract 100 million or more into your life? Type in the chat box, actually answer that question. Do you believe that you could do that? I'm curious to see what your answer is. Yes. Okay, good, good. Those are the kinds of answers I'm expecting. Yes. Yep. Okay, great. Love it. Yes. Okay. Super. I love it. So when Bob and I got off the phone, I just sat down and I created $100 million plan. So I expanded beyond. Yeah, and you don't have to know how, Eva. Think about that, Eva. I love what you wrote there. Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate you very much. Is that you don't have to know how, but that's the thing. You see, even as I say those words, some of you are already put the blocks up. The blocks are there, right? Like for those of you that aren't even answering, Renee says it scares me a little. Good. That's good, Renee. I love that you're sharing that. Absolutely. It likely will scare you a little bit. And that's okay, because the fear can be converted to faith. It's on the same end of the scale as faith. So when I wrote out this plan for $100 million. And then a good friend of mine called me that day. Yeah, if you can get Tiffany, you're right. You have to get it your own way. Exactly. A good friend of mine called me that day, the day that I created this $100 million plan, which was the same day I had the conversation with Bob, same day I got the book cover done for Making a Million Look Small. And it was Gay Hendricks. And he said, "What are you working on, Peg?" And I said, "Wow, funny you should ask." And I told him about what I was working on. Now, Gay Hendricks is the author of The Big Leap, and Gay Hendricks was a client of mine. He became a client of mine. I helped him take that book to the New York Times bestseller list, and I got to know Gay, and I worked with him quite extensively. He was a private client of mine, and really loved Gay and loved his philosophy, and I loved his integrity and his honesty and his authenticity. And these are all characteristics I really admire about people in this business. And so Gay and I had talked about doing something together, like incorporating a business together. And in fact, we did incorporate a company together. But we didn't know what we're going to do. We just thought, okay, we know we want to do something together. Let's incorporate a company. Let's get moving. And that's what we did. And so when I told Gay about this idea, he said, "Let's do that." I said, "Okay, let's do that." And a week later, I was in Tucson, Arizona at an event that I was invited to. And I was sitting across the table from my good friend, Cynthia Kersey, and then Mary Morrissey joined us. And Mary asked me, "What are you working on, Peg?" And I said, "Well, I'm working on this, project with Gay." And she said, "Tell me all about it." And I told her, and she said, "I want to do that. I want to do that with you." And I was thinking in my mind as I'm telling Mary Morrissey, I want to work with Mary. And she said the words, "I want to be a part of this." And when she said that, I thought we should really invite Bob in. And so I called Bob and I told him that, I was doing this thing with Gay and Mary. And he said, "Well, you got to sell me on the idea," which I was surprised. I was actually surprised by his answer because I just thought it would be a resounding yes, I'm in. But he wanted me to sell him on the idea, on the big vision of what it was, which was a wonderful exercise to do. Because what that invites for any of you that are thinking about creating that kind of an outcome in your life, to think expansively, right? To go into your imagination and think, well, what would that really look like? And what would that feel like? And how would we serve the world? And so I actually prepared a presentation for him, which helped me organize my thoughts, right? You want to organize your thoughts. And even in the beginning, if you just have an idea like Eva, like you're thinking, yeah, I kind of like that idea. Okay, well, now it's an opportunity to organize your thoughts and really bring it all together for how will you implement this? And even as you're going along, you may not know all the steps. You've got to remain flexible while you're doing it. It's like, when my husband and I started dating and he was telling me that, "Oh, we're so different." And I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, I'm a pilot, in the military, we plan our trips. We have a backup plan. We know how much gas we're going to need. We know how long it's going to take to get there. And, we're prepared and, all of that." And he said, "You decide to do something and bam, you're off. I mean, you've taken off. You have no idea how you're going to get there. You have no idea how much gas you're going to need to get there, but you're flying." And it's not that one way's better than the other. I think, for a pilot actually flying an airplane is probably good to be the way he is. But for, somebody in business, this is why it's so important to be flexible, or anyone that's going for a goal. You've got to be really flexible with yourself. There's certain things that are going to happen as you're going along that may or may not be expected and usually are unexpected. And you got to be prepared for that. But you also have to understand that you've got this powerful thing called your mind that you can tap into to use. So that's a little bit of a longer answer to your question, Roddy. But that's really how Bob and I started working together. And the four of us, my husband called us the Beatles. We would do seminars, live seminars together. We did online events together. We had a longer term program that we did called Supermind. We actually developed an app. We had a lot of fun, served a lot of people, and it was a wonderful, wonderful experience to do that. But, we're here talking about blocks, and I just want to, before we go on to the next question, Roddy, just stop for a moment and talk about one of the blocks that I had while I was going through that experience was the belief that I was worthy to serve with these greats, with these wonderful master teachers who had been around a long time. In fact, one day we're sitting in a boardroom in Los Angeles at the Marriott Hotel and planning everything out. And I think it was Gay who suggested, We look at the number of years that Bob Proctor studied, the number of years that Mary Morrissey has studied, the number of years that Gay Hendricks have studied, and they're all older than me. And the number of years that I have studied, that we had, I think, a couple hundred, years. It was like a couple centuries of wisdom that we were going to impart on the people that we were blessed to serve. And I remember having a thought on the morning that we're about to open the doors, and we had like 500 people there to run into the ballroom to grab a seat, and I was on first. And so I was the opening speaker, and then we had Gay Hendricks and we had Mary Morrissey and Bob Proctor. And we always finished the day with Bob Proctor because he was the most powerful speaker. And so in my mind, I was thinking, who am I to get on stage with these greats? And it was like the little devil and angel on your shoulder, right? And the devil are the old paradigms. The devil are the blocks, right? The thoughts that pop up from old conditioning that are not going to serve you. And we can understand they're there. They're a part of who we are. And so I would hear these things, and I would just shut them down with another thought. You're absolutely worthy of being here. You have your own style, your own unique style, and you have your own experiences, your own success stories. You've earned your right to be here. And I convinced myself, and that's, part of the repetition, that I deserved to be there to teach with these guys. And we just had the greatest time. And it was such a wonderful experience. But we all ran our own companies at the same time. I mean, Bob was still running his company, Gay the same, Mary the same, me the same. We're all doing our own seminars as well. So it was something we were doing part-time, but I was the managing director of the company, and it was a huge amount of fun and a lot of growth too.
Fabulous. Keeping it on the theme of blocks and resistance, obviously you started your sort of journey in 1979. Yeah, I know that it took you till the sort of early 90s to kind of see the kind of like big success. I know up to that point you had experienced, little bits. You probably felt generally better within yourself. But for most people, that's quite a long time. I think you even said at one point in time in a pit of frustration, this stuff doesn't work and we're
Right.
almost ready to throw it in the garbage.
Yes.
So how did you overcome that resistance and block? And maybe there are people like on this call just now and watching the replay that are sort of a similar mind.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I'm certain there are. In fact, I looked at the names of some of the people that are here, and I know they're going through some challenging times right now. And it's okay. It's part of the growth for sure. But you're right, Roddy. I had started studying in January 1979, and I was a very serious student. I still am a very serious student, because I find that being a serious student will serve you. It'll absolutely serve you. It doesn't mean that you're dumb or that you just, take a long time to learn these things. It just means that our awareness can always improve, and our results can always get better. All right. Our awareness can always improve, and our results can always get better. And so when I reached this point in the 90s where I realized that, I didn't think this stuff worked. It wasn't the materials, it was me. And what I was experiencing was really a tug of war. And I believe some of you are going to really relate to this. I felt that I had this rope, this invisible rope, that was going through the middle of me. And I felt like I was going forward, and then I was going backward. I was going forward, and I was going backward. I was going forward, and I was going backward. And, sometimes they talk about feel like you take 2 steps forward and 1 step back, or 1 step forward and 5 steps back. I mean, I was having these experiences. But think about this. It only takes a little bit of poison to kill. This was something else I learned from Bob Proctor. It only takes a little bit of poison to kill. Some of you may have been on the journey for a long time, and you may be really hungry for some results, but not quite there yet. Could it be because of one little block, or one main block, or one major block? Absolutely, it could be. It totally could be. In fact, when I was going through my divorce, I had a realization, and that's what awareness is, that I recognized that I did not feel worthy of love. Now, I talked about that earlier, because in 1979, when I definitely got into the materials and studying, there were a lot of blocks that were there. It was kind of like a very dark and gloomy, subconscious mind. I love the example that I've used many times that I saw Bob do on stage with a glass of water and a glass of coffee. And he said the glass of coffee represents a dark mind, and very negative, destructive mind. That was me before I met Bob Proctor. And the glass of water is very positive mind, very clear thinking, focuses only on the good, etc. And that's really where we desire to be, is having that kind of mind. And I'd say my mind is pretty much like that now, but every once in a while, little negativity can creep in, and that's where it only takes a little bit of poison to kill. You could just have a thought of not being worthy, or not thinking that it's going to happen, or fear creeps in, and then boom, it's like you're pouring the whole bottle bottle of coffee right into the water, and it just contaminates, right? It just destroys. But on the other hand, what happens is this, is that when we think about the coffee, the glass of coffee that we have, and then we've got a glass of water, and we add the good into the mind that's dark. At first we don't see the change. And I've done this demonstration before where I've had it here and used a spoon and moved some water over the dark glass of coffee, and you don't see any change. And that's what happens for a lot of people, is they don't see the change. And if they don't see the change, or don't experience the change in the time frame that they want, they'll think, oh, it doesn't work. And so they get frustrated, and you got to be really careful of that. There is a gestation period for all seeds that will manifest into form, but we don't know what it is. We really don't know what it is. So that's why you have to understand, when you set your objectives, your goals, you have to really want it. That's why Bob used to say, do you want it? Do you want it? Now, you may find that you set an objective, and then you start going along and you're thinking about it, and you're getting more emotionally involved in it. You realize, nah, I don't think I really want that. Then that's okay. Let it go. Choose another goal and get focused on that. And so, yeah, 3 feet from gold, Jackie G, you're absolutely right. Like, this is a big part of the challenge, is that, people get frustrated and they give up. They give up. They give up. And so, yes, I'd been doing the work for many, many years, and I wasn't seeing the results that I wanted. I definitely saw some results, and I definitely manifested a number of things in my life, but not to the degree that I desired. Right. And so I didn't know what the gestation period was, but in my mind, it had already happened. And why, weren't these things in my life? And so getting angry doesn't always solve it. However, this is a very true statement, and one that I love, and that is, dissatisfaction stimulates growth. Now, dissatisfaction doesn't always stimulate growth. Some people are dissatisfied and they think it's their lot in life. They think that's God's will, that they're supposed to suffer. That is not true. Absolutely not true. But if you're dissatisfied, and I'm sure there are some people that are here right now that are dissatisfied with some part of their life, and you're willing, it's very important that you're willing to make the change in you, because that's where it begins, that's where it ends, then you can produce incredible results, absolutely incredible results. Like, I now know this stuff works, and it works like magic sometimes. I remember talking to Bob about that one day, like, do you find that sometimes these things happen and it just appears like they're magic? And he goes, yeah, like, quite often. He used to say this on stage. He would say, great question, Regina, I'm going to answer that question. He would say that, I forget what I was going to say. Bob would say what, Peggy? I saw Regina's question, and it totally took me off track from what I was going to say. Okay, it'll come back to me in a minute. But anyways, Roddy, I just saw Regina's question, and since we are talking about, getting to a point of feeling like, this stuff doesn't work, and the gestation period that is, required for all seeds to manifest into form. Oh yeah, this is what Bob used to say. He used to say that it would often surprise you how it would happen. That's what he would say. It would be surprising how things would happen. And so, for Regina's question, since we're on this and we're talking about this right now, is that, why is the gestation period different for people who manifest the same goal? Great question. It depends on their energy. It depends on their attention. It depends on the dominant way of being that they're involved with. You could have two people, and they're both going for a similar goal or the same goal as an example, and one arrives there faster. Why? Because that person was more in alignment with that outcome than the other person. It doesn't mean the other person's not going to get there. It just means this person was more in alignment. They got out of their own way, which is something Tiffany had written in the chat box a little while ago. You have to get out of your own way. Now, to get out of your own way, you have to be willing to get out of your own way and willing to expand your consciousness awareness through education, through study, and through application as well. You're very welcome. I love it. What does alignment mean, Gab? Oh, I'm sorry, Roddy. I'll stop looking at the chat box. I should probably shut it down
No,
because I totally get
actually, that kind of
distracted.
brings me on to the question anyway about alignment. I've got some
Yes.
more great questions here, but obviously, feeling is the secret, and I know that you're a huge Neville Goddard fan. That's something that we really talk about in Club Achieve. Studied his books multiple times, and will continue to do so. But you mentioned it's so important to feel your dream life as if it's already here. Like, what's your best tools to really anchor in that feeling state and some practical measures? Like, denying the evidence of the senses, for example, another great statement as well. But you mentioned the Power Life script all the time as well, too. And we've first time we've not mentioned it until now, which is probably a record. But why do you feel like that tool in particular is the one that's really made the biggest difference to you and like thousands of other people as well?
Yeah, I love that. Love that question. The reason why the Power Life script works so brilliantly is because it reprograms your subconscious mind and through impressions. And there's two known ways to change your paradigms, which are your belief system, and that is through repetition of these new ideas. You see, you're already conditioned a certain way because of repetition, and it may have been, conscious choice, but it may not have been. The beliefs that you have within you, unless you've been working on it, have been put there, and usually by someone else or from other sources. But when we become consciously aware, when we become good students, then we're choosing what we're allowing to come into our own mind. And so the Power Life script was a process that I came up with in the middle of the 90s. And it was at that point, Roddy, where I reached this decision that, it's not that the stuff doesn't work, it's that I wasn't doing it effectively enough. And I knew that what was required to go to the next level or to skip levels was to discipline myself, become very, very disciplined in my activities every day that created the alignment. And that's what a Power Life script does, because when you write out your Power Life script, you're writing it in a way that this is your life now. You're living this way now. You already have these things now. You don't have to know how, and you're not going to tell the universe how it's going to happen. You're accepting it into your heart as a now result. In fact, that's my new book. My 24th book is called The Moment of Creation. And the moment of creation is all about now, this now moment, this moment that we're in right now, and being in alignment, because you are creating right now. Every one of you, we've been on here for 47 minutes. You are in a creation mode or you're in a destruction mode. You could be creating undesirable results or you could create desirable results. Nonetheless, you are in a mode of creation of some sort. And a lot of people are completely ignorant of this and they're completely unaware of what that is. And so when I created the Power Life script as a process for myself to really reprogram my subconscious mind, I wrote out a script, I recorded the script, and I listened to it, and I still do to this day, October 31st, 2024. And it started in 1995. I still, to this day, it's almost been 30 years that I listen to my Power Life script every single day, over and over and over again. It's not the only thing I listen to. I listen to my concept of self-statement. I listen to other guided audios that I've created. Right now I have 8. Yesterday I had 7. I added another one. And so, and it's only because I am impressing my subconscious mind only with the ideas. And this is what I want you guys to do too. Only impress your subconscious mind with thoughts or ideas or affirmations that are going to serve you, that are going to support you. It's like building the legs under the table so it stands strong, right? Or putting the foundation under a home. This is what you must do if you want to create another result. That's why in our mind conditioning accelerator program, as an example, I will ask people, I'll say, what is it that you desire and what do you need to believe in order to have that? Because we're all different, right? It's not a one size fits all industry that we're in. It isn't. That's why I like to give lots of different tools and lots of different choices and things that you can be doing. So for one person, visualization, maybe something that they have consciously chosen to engage in every single day to create that alignment, which alignment simply means that you are feeling as if what you desire is in your life now. Okay, so that's what alignment is. It's when you're feeling as if your desire is in your life now. That's alignment. It's here now. You don't question it. There's no doubt in it. Now think about this. Like if you ask me, am I a man or a woman? What am I going to answer? I'm a woman, right? Do I have to go look in the mirror or check to see if that's true? No, I know it's true. Now this may be an oversimplified example, but this is where you want to get to the point where you believe in yourself so much. There's no question. There's no need to go verify it or check it anywhere. You just know it. It's why when Denny, another thing that happened when Denny and I started dating, he asked me the question, what happens when you're not earning money? And just like a dog who tilts his head and doesn't understand the question, I was like, what? I'm a money earning machine, because that was a belief that I created foundation to my life. That's who I am. I'm not concerned about it, not worried about it. It's always going to occur. It's a perpetual thing that's in my life because the belief has been built within me that it's already there, regardless of the fact. And that's why when I decided to incorporate my company, December 1994, which we're coming up, it was December 4th, 1994, I incorporated my company, even though I had no formal education as far as running a business. My parents certainly weren't entrepreneurs. I didn't have anyone saying, oh, come with me, Peggy, I'll hold you by the hand and I'll guide you all the way. It was just like, this is what I've decided that I'm doing. I'm naming it and claiming it, and I'm doing it. Like it's already done. And it's like, I'll figure it out as we're flying in the air, as Denny would say. And in some ways we have to really be willing to do that. We have to be willing to let go of the how. And I know that's challenging for some people. It certainly is, because if you've been programmed to believe that you have to have all the steps figured out, or that you have to have the money, like Vladdy was talking about earlier, to make the decision, right? We're programmed that way. What do you mean I don't need the money until I make a decision? Like, what? I mean, Bob used to talk about that as well. He used to give people guidance on real estate. And I took his advice. I bought a house and I didn't have the money and had no idea how I was going to pay for it. But yet I did it anyway. And I trusted. I trusted in myself. I trusted in the universe. I know the universe always has your back. Always. The universe wants for you what you want for you. Now, you could call the universe God. You could call it whatever you want to call it. But whatever it is that you want, we're wired that way as human beings to create anything that we want in our life. And we have to recognize that. And how we demonstrate the universe that we are aware of that is by making decisions and stretching yourself. There will be an aspect of fear as part of this because you're in a growth situation. Now, you're not going to remain in fear. The fear is there in the beginning, right? It's called the terror barrier. It's there in the beginning because you're thinking in a new way. You've planted a new idea that is not in alignment with what the current paradigms are. So they fight you, right? The battle begins. The battle's going to go on. Who's going to win? Whatever you give your attention to, whatever you feed. And so when you have these old negative blocks that are within you, these beliefs that don't support you, we have to let them die from malnutrition, right? Don't nourish them anymore. Don't give them any attention. Don't feed them by staying stuck or by not making a decision to do something that you'd really love to do. You got to stop that.
Brilliant. Yeah, I mean, just as you were saying there, Peg, you started your company nearly 30 years ago, and we'll be doing lots of celebrations next month for it, which we're really looking forward to. Um, Obviously, you've served lots of different types of people over these years. Like I'm thinking even just now, some of the folks that you've got on board for mentorship, like, you've got people that are earning seven figures as business owners, you've got single mums, you've got quite a spread of people there. And I do want to make it clear too that you do have a few spots available for private mentorship as well at the moment. We've got 90-day, 6 months, and 1 year packages available as well too. And you can visit annualallaccesspass.com, or you can book a call through our team, peggymccall.com/team, if you want more details. We'll put that in the chat box and a link below this video too if you're watching it on the replay. But what sort of people enroll in mentorship? What sort of clients do you get? What are the sort of challenges that you help people through? And what does a mentorship call look like with Peggy? Like, what actually happens on these calls if somebody's never done it with you before? What can they do with you when they're on these calls? I know it's like a one-on-one Zoom format, kind of similar to this, but yeah, what can you talk me through that process?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. As you're asking the question, I was thinking what goes on in Vegas stays in Vegas. It's like what goes on in my Zoom calls stays on my Zoom calls. And of course it does, it's all very, very private. And I would say that the people that I'm very blessed to work with are people that are like me. They really do have a desire to make the change in their life, and they're willing to do the work, and everybody's different. It's everybody different. I always start with, what is it that you want? Like, what would you like to accomplish? And inevitably, and this is a fun part of it, is that they'll have some goals and some objectives, and that's usually why they make a decision, that they want to work in a private mentoring capacity. But then new goals come, and the reason for that is because as you become this and recognize this incredible power that you have within you, it's like your awareness changes, and it's like you become elevated in your thinking. You start to look at things differently. It's like Vladdy's a mountain climber, right? And she's a crazy girl. She loves climbing mountains. And I know that when she makes a decision to go to the top, she realizes that she's not necessarily sure of everything that she's going to come into contact with, or the challenges that she's going to have as she's going up this mountain or a cliff. And so as you're going, what happens is the information that you're being exposed to is going to be more enlightened, right? You get greater awareness as you're climbing and getting higher. You start to see things very differently as well. That's probably one of the reasons why Vladdy loves doing this so much, is that it's very much a parallel to growth in our own life, right? So as we're growing and as people are in these private mentoring sessions, I'm never sure exactly where it's going to go. And like, I'm very blessed to serve a wide variety of people, but inevitably it's because they want to create something in their life that they don't currently have, and they want some guidance. Also, I will see things in another, and I can tell by language, when they're saying certain things to me, or even by their actions, where some of their blocks might be. And so, sometimes that can be really helpful too. But I'm paying attention to not only what they're saying, but how they're expressing their energy, because everything that we're feeling is being expressed in energy. The other thing is that we don't know how long it's going to take to manifest these things. And what I would like to do is help them lay the foundation so that they continue to experience growth even beyond the mentoring sessions, and recognize the importance of being committed, and the value of disciplining themselves daily as well. The challenge is that I can't do the work for them, for sure. But I would say that pretty much everyone that I've been blessed to work with, they arrive hungry, and so it's much easier to feed the hungry because they're appreciative of it. They're ready for growth. They're willing to do the work, and so I think that's really important. If we think about characteristics of the perfect or ideal client, it would be somebody who is hungry. They've made a decision that no more, they're not struggling anymore. And sometimes it takes years as well. Like, I work with Bob and had him as my mentor for many, many years. He became a friend because we worked together for so long. But this is not overnight work here. It really isn't. And I think that's important to understand. Although we can make the change like that, but we have to keep it, right? Like, we make a decision right now that we're going to make a change, but it's all about growth and expansion and creating better and better results. And that's what's fun about this, is there's no end. there's literally no end to what you can do and what you can accomplish in your life. It's really all about growth as well. Well, thank you, Michelle Snyder. She's Michelle. Peggy has extraordinary programs. I've taken most, if not all of them. And here I am again. I love that. I love that about Michelle as well. And Michelle's not the only one. I see other people here. Muriel, who's a wonderful student, a beautiful lady who is absolutely committed to growth, and Eva, who's here too. I'm just looking at the top of my screen. Tootie, Jackie G, as I've already mentioned, we had Mark, on the call, 80s here, like a lot of people that are here, Barbara, Caroline, like Chris, Connie, Donna, like I'm seeing many, many people that are in many of the programs, have been in many of the programs. Joan as well. Katie, oh, Katie's here. Oh, wonderful. Katie is a lovely lady that I met, and look at what she's manifested in her life. Katie, it's so extraordinary. And that's another example. Patrick as well, Nancy, there's so many people. I'm sorry if I haven't said everybody's name. Stephanie, I'm just looking down my screen here to see, who's here. Vicky, Wendy, and these are names that I'm more familiar with, maybe because we work within our private mentoring capacity. But, I started studying in January of 79. It's October 31st, 2024. I will never stop. I will absolutely never stop. Bob said that too. I will never stop till the day I die. He died just before his 88th birthday. And when he was 87, he decided to add an addition onto his home. It was $1.5 million, to put on this new addition. How many other 87-year-olds are doing that, right? Like, it's just, it's just like, you want it, do it. You want to create something better, then you can absolutely, go for it. I love that. Yeah, I like what Vladdy wrote. Vladdy wrote, mentor is someone who shows you where to go, but do not tell you what to see. It is a lighthouse to a boat, showing direction and guiding through inner transformation. Helps you save tons of time, money, and energy, and tailors the growth map to you and your desires. Best way to grow. Totally is, Vladdy. Thank you for writing that. And as she's writing that, and I think about, it really is like, my objective is bring out the greater and grander version of who you are when we work together. That's what I'm looking for. I know there's greatness within you. I know there's tremendous potential within you. That's what I see. And I want you to see it, because it doesn't matter what I see. It matters more what you see. And if you don't see it right now, you don't believe it right now, I'm going to help you build that belief within you so that you can experience the growth. And you're right, Vladdy. I mean, it shaves off, like, I think about condensed time, because I've gone through, like, I really am somebody who, I wasn't, born in with a silver spoon in my mouth, as they say. I struggled a lot, struggled a lot as an adult as well. And even as, as frequent as 3 years ago, went through a tremendous life challenge with a health situation, which I'm so grateful for the training that I've been involved with over the years. It helped me stay strong throughout that experience. And I mean, it could have gone another way, and I wasn't giving that any attention. For me, it was only one outcome, and that was, I was living in a healed body, or a healthy body, not healed. I saw my body as healthy. There's a difference. This is something else that I notice with people too, little distinctions, right? If you're claiming to be healing from something, it means that there's a sickness there. Okay. Do you want the sickness there? No. So what's the outcome? The outcome is you're living in a healthy, vibrant, energetic body. That's what you focus on. Little distinction can make a big, big difference.
Yeah, totally. And I think as well too, with regards to the mentorship, and I said that before we hit record today, was really the mentors can kind of get rid of those blocks that maybe you're not even aware of, the hidden mental blocks. And certainly one thing that I've really learned too from you, Peggy, and just studying successful people, is that they are not they're not afraid to invest in their own personal growth. Like, it's a never-ending journey, this, like the awareness levels just keep growing and growing and growing. And even though you might think, oh, well, Peggy's a multi-millionaire, she already knows it, why would she bother continuing to study? It's like, no, it doesn't it doesn't end. It's a constant journey. It's a constant, never-ending journey of growth and of development and reaching another level. Like there's always another level I can go to. There's always another level Peggy can go to, on whatever barometer that Peggy wishes to kind of assess it from. But a lot of people, Peggy, want to kind of know, and maybe that it could be around mentorship or just anything in life, is between trusting that intuitive factor, i.e., I know I want to do that, versus maybe a paradigm or not. Like, how do you kind of
Yeah.
know the difference between, like, logically, that's not a good thing for me to do at this moment in time, versus my intuition saying I should do it? How do I know the difference between the two, particularly when maybe a spouse or a relative or somebody saying don't do it? Like, how do you kind of weigh that up? Like, I think about your dream home manifestation, for example, buying a house when you didn't have money. Logically, probably not a very sensible thing to do, but obviously, intuition, desire, hunger took you there. But how did you kind of weigh up that decision to go, I'm going to invest in a house that I have no money, and I'm going to put my signature on a declaration to say that I'm following through? How do you know that difference?
Yeah, it's a really great question. I love that you're asking that question, Roddy. I think you know by how you feel for sure. And then if you ask that question that I mentioned earlier, do you want it? Is this something that you would love? Like, do you really want it? And but if there's if there's something within you that's saying, oh, this is a crazy idea, or perhaps even illogical, like for me to go and buy a home in 1995 and use a cash advance on my visa to do so, very illogical. It's not a wise thing for most people to do. Why? Because most people wouldn't do it. And so, but I didn't tell anybody what I was doing. It was nobody's business. Absolutely nobody's business. I mean, there's been many times I've made decisions to do things and didn't tell anyone. And and so you have to understand that the reason is because most people aren't doing it. But you also look at statistics, like look at the statistics in the world of the number of people that have actually accomplished success versus the number that haven't. It's like 97% that have not, 3% that have, but it's still available to all 97% or 100%. Everybody has the opportunity to thrive no matter where you came from, or if you're a conscious thinking person. I mean, there's been many people, we've heard the stories of people that have come from extreme situations and yet have created success, either in business or in their life somehow, maybe as an athlete or whatever, but it's absolutely possible to do so. So when you're really trying to discern, like, is this my intuition guiding me not to, or is it a paradigm? Pay attention to how you're feeling, because paradigms will not feel good. You'll maybe feel a little sick to your stomach. And it's like earlier when we saw the answer, and I think it was Tiffany who said that, feeling the fear, you will feel fear, and it doesn't necessarily mean you're not growing. In fact, it's very likely a sign that you are. When I made a decision to buy a house and I put my name on a legally binding contract, I didn't know where the money was going to come from. And I was absolutely scared, but I recognized what it was. And this is the value of the education, of being in the study as well. I was aware that what I was experiencing was being up against a new way of thinking. I was up against what's called the terror barrier. And so the previous way of thinking was not going to support me to get me to where I want to go. It's like the question was asked earlier of what is a concept of self. And it's an identity statement. I know Vladdy had written something in the chat box, but I want to add to that because this is very, very important. When you think about what it is that you would love to create for yourself, ask yourself this question: what is that person like? The person that has already accomplished that. What are they like? How do they think? What are their beliefs? How do they feel? And so that's really where you're establishing a concept of self, which is truth about who you are. May not be what you're currently demonstrating, but it's the truth about what you are. It's truth about what you're capable of. It's truth about what's already within you, because the power is within you. We're going to just bring it out, right? And by stretching yourself, that's what's going to occur in your life and that's what I did. And here's a very valuable statement that I learned from Bob Proctor. And I want you to really think about this and understand it. It's like when you accomplish a particular goal, whatever that goal is, whether it's buying a home, whether it's getting into private mentoring, whether it's writing a book, whether it's becoming a New York Times bestseller, whether it's having your book made into a movie like Mark Wallace is doing, or whatever it is, like when you make the decision to do these things and you get on with the work, because there's going to be work involved, but it can be fun. And I know Mark's having a ton of fun, right now, but you're living as that person that has already accomplished that. This is where the growth comes. Because when you get there, you're going to be standing there as this new version of yourself, and you will never be the same, never be the same. And so the biggest benefit is who you become in the process. That's really what the big benefit is. It feels good. It feels so good to do it. Like I was telling someone the other day, one of my new private mentoring clients, she's a medical doctor from France, and she's loving this process. I'm working with her on doing her book, and she's just an absolute purely delightful woman to work with. I'm so blessed, so grateful for the people that I'm blessed to serve. And she just started, and she wrote the intro to her book, and she did the outline, and it's brilliant. She sent it to me, and I said to her, how are you feeling? And she said, I just feel so good. I feel good about myself. I feel good about what I'm accomplishing. I feel good about the direction I'm going in. And I'm sure there's many authors that are here on the call that, will say the same thing. It just felt good to do it, like to accomplish that. Kayla, who's on our team, has written, her children's book as well, working on additional children's book. There's so much benefit that comes as a result of making a decision, getting on with the work, and accomplishing it. So the big benefit that you're going to experience is the benefit of who you will become. I know I went a little bit longer and answered your question in the beginning, but added a little bit more
Oh,
to
it's
it.
brilliant. I love it, Peggy. You really do. It's so valuable, and probably brings us on a bit nicely too. Is that statement that Bob said, and you mentioned it all the time, is you don't have to know how. You just need to know that you can. Again, for a lot of people on the surface level, that's quite a difficult thing to kind of understand, and we say that all the time. You don't have to focus on the how, but how can you sort of, get away from that feeling of always trying to work out the how and trying to plan it out so it's all perfectly done?
Right.
Because, like you said there, these manifestations come from quite often the most unexpected places, like when you got your house. But how do you get away from that feeling of trying to plan it all out and trying to know every exact step to take along the journey?
Yeah. Well, it's fascinating. I find it really fascinating, and I think it's a good approach is to look at things as they're fascinating, right? That just feels much better than overwhelming, right? Because overwhelming is not going to serve you. It's negative energy, it's destructive energy. So if you just say, isn't it wonderful that I don't have to know how the steps, but here's what you must do. And I don't want to say this with all the love in the world, but I really want everyone to get this. This is what you must do. You must feel as if it's in your life now. You must feel as if it's in your life now. That is an action. Because quite often people will say, well, what action do I take if I don't have to know how? That is an action. That is an action. That is a daily way of being, which means it should be your predominant way of being every single day, feeling as if, acting as if, living as if this is already done. Because when you do, you will get inspired. Inspired is a word that means from spirit. In spirit, you will get inspired from within on what to do. So when I had purchased that home as an example and had no idea how I was going to pay for it, I was inspired when I was working for a company that actually was the very first internet service organization that was setting up dedicated internet access for businesses. Now, if you remember back in 1995, that's when the World Wide Web really opened up. And I was there. I was with the first company that was setting up. Netscape had just come on board as the first browser. And so when this company decided to go public, I was there. You see, I put myself in an environment that's conducive for success. And this is something else you must do. Everyone that's here, you're in an environment that's conducive for your success. When you're in programs, you're in an environment that's conducive for your success. And so I was still studying, I was still applying, I was still disciplining myself, being in the environment that's conducive for my success. So when ideas will come to you, then you know from your intuition how it feels. Oh yeah, this feels like the right thing to do. Like when I decided to purchase that home, even though I didn't have the money to pay for it, it felt like the right thing to do. It felt like the right thing to do, even though it was scary as hell. I mean, it was just overwhelmingly scary. But within me and within you, we all have this secret voice, if you will, and it is called intuition, and it will guide you if you're willing to listen to it and accept it into your consciousness, into your heart, and allow yourself to be guided. And it's spirit. That is what's going on. It is spirit speaking to you. Sometimes it's clear. Sometimes it's just a little hushy sound. Like what? What did I hear? Buy a house with a cash advance on your Visa? What are you, nuts? And this is also where those blocks, they can have you going running in the opposite direction as well. So you have to have the awareness to notice what those blocks are so that you can recognize that kind of thinking or that feeling is not going to serve me right here, right now. What do I need to believe in order for this to be done? I need to believe that I own this home. Okay, what does that feel like? It feels great. Okay, go straight to feeling. And that was my process when I'd start to feel the fear, to put myself back in alignment so that I would, in fact, be in alignment and be open and ready to receive the guidance, because the guidance will come.
Brilliant. And yeah, I'm more than happy to, folks, for those that are on the call, if you've got questions as well that you want, particularly in relation to the mentorship packages that we've got, or questions just around personal development, please do feel free to pop it in the chat box and we'll do our best to get to them in the time that we've got available. But I know, Peggy, you've said it and you've quoted Bob from it too, if you could take all this information and put it in a syringe and, inject people with it, you know,
Wouldn't that
you,
be wonderful?
it would be amazing.
That's a Power
Absolutely.
Life script. That's the
Definitely.
injections of the Power Life script.
Yes.
It really is.
But obviously we're a few months away at this point in time from the end of the year. And truth is, it doesn't really matter whether it's the end, approaching the end of the year or approaching next century, whenever it is. But what would be your best advice for people to kind of make sure that they end this year strongly as their best year ever? Like everybody has blocks, but how can we accelerate that process and say, right now, no more, Peggy. You know what? 2024, it's been decent, but not as good as what I want. I want to get it to that next level. I'm sick, I'm tired, I'm frustrated, I'm ready to go to the next point. Tell me and give me that syringe now so I can move forward fast.
That's good. I'd say it's 3 steps. 1, decide. 2, invest. And 3, get on with the work. I mean, that's really what it is. You got to make a decision. When we think about October 31st, we're 2 months away from the rest of the year. And could you still make this year your best year ever? Absolutely. Definitely. Would you love that? And even as I say that, there may be some people on this call going, yeah, I'd like that. Have you decided? You have to decide, right? You have to decide that this is your result, that this is your best year ever, that this is already done, that this is something that you absolutely are worthy of, that you deserve, that it's possible for you. You have to decide. And then you got to invest. Now, I'm talking about investing in yourself. I'm talking about investing in acquiring the knowledge of what does it take to get there. Because, we did this session, Blocks Gone, and a few months ago, we did another event called Blocks Gone. And I talked about different types of blocks. There's some blocks that you have within you that are kind of like minor sort of surface level blocks, but there are some others, and I know I had them, and the client I was talking to yesterday definitely had them too, that are deep. They are deeply impacted within you. Maybe they've been there a while. I've been on this earth a number of decades now. And so maybe they've been, floating around there in your consciousness and are like firmly packed in from the many, 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 many years of continually reaffirming them, not because you wanted to, but it's because it's the way that you became. And even as we make a decision to, make the changes and invest in ourselves and get involved in the programs, it's going to take some time. But the better it goes and the faster it goes is going to be dependent on your application. You have to apply. You absolutely must apply. That's what step 3 is. Get on with the work. Get on with the work. Like, I can't do it for you. I can't stick a syringe in your bum and have it, be a magical cure or solution that's going to cause you to wake up tomorrow morning and be a multimillionaire and accomplished everything that you want. But is that possible that you could wake up tomorrow morning and using your imagination, which we all have, your mental faculty called your imagination, and imagine that you are already that you've already done those things, that you're walking around like Mark Wallace, smiling every day because you know it is done? Like, this is something that he's doing every single day. And I love that. I love that because that's what Mark Wallace did. He made a decision. He invested in himself. He got on with the work. But when you get on with the work, it's a daily work. Absolutely daily. I mean, Mark has been in every high level program that I have. And here he is here again today. Here he is again today. Why? Because he's taking notes. He's acquiring more information and he is implementing and he's looking for ways to get better and better and better. I don't have to ask him. I know that's what he's doing. I know that, look, he's nodding his head. I know that's what he's doing. And maybe some of you are doing that as well. Look at Tanya, who's been in my programs for years as well, or Katie, who's been in programs for years. Always an opportunity to get better. That's what I'm focused on. I am like saturating my mind every single day. You can come into my office, you'll see stacks of books. And when I'm not on a call or working with a client or whatever, I'm studying. And I'm studying, as Bob used to say, like a scientist. I'm not sure how they study, but sounds like they study quite intensively. But this is what you have to do. I mean, it really is. And it's so worthwhile. It's so valuable. It really is. So you've got to be patient. You've got to be understanding with yourself. You have to be constantly aware. You have to be noticing as well and really, really paying attention to what's going on within your mind so that you can make that positive change and get the results. In one of my books that I wrote, Roddy, I quoted one of my clients that I was blessed to serve, a gentleman by the name of Dr. Wayne Dyer. And I'm sure some of you knew who Wayne Dyer was, a wonderful man. And here's what he said. He said these words. I want you to understand that this is really important, especially for those of you that feel like you've been studying a long time and you haven't seen the results yet. Okay, listen to this. Infinite patience produces immediate results. Infinite patience produces immediate results. So that's why I said a moment ago, be patient with yourself. However, your assignment, should you choose to accept it, this is mission possible here, should you choose to accept it, is to feel as if what you desire is in your life now. Now think about this. Let's expand on this a little bit further. When you're thinking as if, when you're feeling as if what you desire is in your life now, would you be impatient? No, of course not. You would absolutely not, because you would know in your heart that it is here right now. It's here right now. It is in my life right now. You deny the evidence of the senses. You don't look at what is. Bob used to put the big R on the screen beside the stick man concept. And he would say, most people stay in struggle because they keep looking at the results. Now, when you look at the big R or the results or the current results, your bank account or lack of what's in your bank account, what are you doing? Recreating more of the same. You're strengthening that paradigm that's within you that is not going to help you get you to where you want to go, but that's what's going on. Why? Because that's the habitual way of being that we are. But here's good news, really, really, really good news. That may be the habitual way of being that you're involved in, but you can change it. You can stop the insanity. You can choose to have a new way of being so that you're only going to look for the good, that you're only going to focus on having that which you desire as if it's in your life right now. I like one of the books that we studied in Club Achieve is a book called Ask and It Is Given. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, Ask and It Is Given. And in this book, one of the things that was written there is that you are either in one of two states. And I want you guys to think about which state you're in, not from a place of judging yourself or criticizing yourself or being upset with yourself, for awareness. You're either in a state of wanting something, which means you don't have it, but you really want it. You want your finances to get better. You want to have better results. You want to have better health. You want to have that soulmate in your life. You want to, whatever it is, there's a state of wanting. That's one state. That's where a lot of people are. Maybe not everybody, because some people don't even go to that state. Or there's a state of having. It's already here. It's already done. That's what the moment of creation is all about. Being in this state consistently, being persistent, disciplining yourself every day. That this what Mark Wallace is doing. He's decided that he's going to reside in the state of this is already done. I have it now. Infinite patience produces immediate results. When you know that it's already here, there's no room for impatience. Now, does that mean that you're not going to feel impatient? Oh no, you'll probably feel impatient, right? Mark, do you ever feel impatient? Yeah, for sure. Do you ever feel frustrated? Absolutely. I know that, but you got to recognize it, bam, as soon as it pops up its ugly head and go, you don't serve me. That doesn't serve me. Being upset, being overwhelmed, being frustrated, not going to serve you. So you have to go in your mind to the place, it's already here. Now that this is in my life, how do I feel? Now that I have this, how do I feel? And the Power Life script will help you do that. You know, when I made a decision to go for my doctorate, you know, I knew it was going to be a lot of work, but I start my Power Life script with, I'm Dr. Peggy McColl. And I started that way. Now my sign here on my desk, you know, that I created as a visual, here to serve, and all of that. Now I'm not that yet, but in my mind I am. It's already done. I'm already feeling that. I've accepted it as a feeling. It's like when you try on something for the first time. How's that feel? Does it feel good? Does it feel like it fits? It fits. Now, this is why I said earlier, you may find that you think about doing something or accomplishing something and you put it on and you're like, I'm not sure if it really fits, but let me try it for a little while. And then you try it for a couple of days and go, nah, I don't want that. Change your mind, right? If you don't like where you're going, change direction. We've been given a gift, and the gift is free will. Free will. You're all given the same gift. You all have an option to do that. In fact, Michelle Snyder heard about what I was doing. She decided to get on the same program, and she's going for it too. And I love that. And we're having some fun, you know, emailing each other and texting each other. And she already has a master's degree. So, you know, she's done a thesis before. So this is, you know, a little more familiar ground for her, but she's loving the materials as much as I am as well. And so I don't remember what the question was, Roddy.
It's a great answer anyway. Thank you
Okay,
very
good. Thank
much.
you.
It's really, really, really valuable. Yeah, like we said too, you know, as Peggy talked about there, gathering the information is important, of course, but applying it as well too, really using it to be the best version of yourself, so important. So I highly encourage you to book a call. Again, Kayla will pop it in the chat box, but it's peggymccall.com/call. Um, Tiffany, I see your message as well too. Kayla has been reaching out to you. She's more than happy to jump on a call. I know you're quite keen on private mentorship, so just check your inbox there and check your message as well too through Zoom, and Kayla will happily speak to you. So we've got some questions as well too, Peggy, from people on this call. Actually, one that Kayla had earlier today from a lovely lady, and she's looking for a bit of advice from you. She's completed her children's book made for Christmas, but haven't yet secured an illustrator, believing the text can stand alone with a strong cover, but I have no experience in marketing, and my goal is to reach 1.5 million families, achieving over 10 millions in sales. Should I start one-on-one with you from December 2nd, when I have investment funds, to aim for year-end success in 2024, or wait a year to add illustrations and work on a fully developed version end 2025? The illustrations were my block. How to bypass it and complete my goal? Question for Peggy.
Yeah, well, that could be an assumption that the illustrations are a block, but it's usually not something outside yourself that's a block. Like having an illustrator is not definitely not going to be a block, but and you'll attract one. And Kayla absolutely knows a phenomenal illustrator as well. You know, it's really what's within us. And as I said at the beginning of this call, everyone has them. Absolutely everyone has them. And if you're looking to create a result that you've never experienced in your life, you likely need help, right? Because your awareness is not there yet. So why wait? Why would you wait a minute? I would begin at once. I mean, that was immediately what I heard intuitively within me, as Roddy was asking the question, you begin at once. You don't wait. Your dreams aren't going to wait for you. You begin now. Now is the time to get fully involved in creating the scenario, the outcome that you desire, which sounds like you're already heading in that direction. But there's a lot of work to be done. And what's most important to understand is, when we're looking to create results like a book on the New York Times bestseller list or some other accomplishment, it is the person, it is the being that's going to do that. And so it's the person that needs to work on the person. You have to work on yourself in order to make that accomplishment. And that's what I, help people with. And that's what I really pay attention to when we're on the calls. It's not so much what you're doing, it's what's going on internally, what's going on within you. And that's often expressed with your energy. I can read energy, I can see energy. It's also what I'm hearing from the words that are coming out of someone's mouth is perhaps, where the blocks are. With some people, it's really evident. With some people, not as always. But I'd say, for most people, it's pretty evident. So, and if that's the outcome, we did an event last week, and Tanya, I believe you were there, called The Author World, and I had some statistics on there of books, and I think there's some statistics that shed some light on some people that were kind of surprised. But yet at the same time, when you realize that, it's 0.017% of authors that get on the New York Times bestseller list. Now, I've been on the New York Times bestseller list. I've helped many people get on the New York Times bestseller list. But those are the odds? Like, what? Zero. But I don't look at that. I mean, that was kind of a surprise to me because what I look at? It's possible. It's absolutely possible. If you can fog a mirror, you can do it. Now, how many authors have sold over 1 million copies? Tiny fraction. It's not a lot. In fact, there's a statistic that says 93% of all books that are released will never sell more than 500 copies. 93%? Like, I love working with those 7%ers, the ones that really want to create, significant results, better results, be in the odds, and produce those results. So if you're really serious about that, I would suggest get started now.
Fantastic. Yeah, Peggy, obviously you're a very busy lady, as you've demonstrated there. 2 books, multiple programs that you're involved in through clients. The list goes on and on and on. It's not as if you're, sitting here all day wondering what to do with yourself. That's pretty well taken care of. But obviously, study is an important part of it, and being aware of your alignment and being aware of your energy. I'm thinking people like Mark, he's a really successful businessman too. Eddie's here. We've got a real collective variety of different clients that we're so blessed to serve. But how do you keep track of your energy and your vibration, and are you sort of hypersensitive? If you go off, do you notice it straight away and put yourself back on it? Because it's be easy through your really busy day to just kind of go completely off track and maybe not even notice when you've gone off track.
I believe that energy is something that is expressed. So it's within all of us. We have a choice. It's always a choice how you're going to feel, what energy you're going to express. I think that what's really, really important is to have a goal that scares and excites you at the same time, like a big goal or a stretch goal, if you will. That's really important. I always have a goal that's in mind. And so the passion for the goal is quite often the fuel that keeps you going. That's why when Bob would ask the question, do you want it? He wants to know, is there passion underneath that goal? If there's passion, you're going to keep going, right, Tootie? Like, you will absolutely keep going. I think about Tootie, who's got passion for a very, very important project that I believe has the potential of changing the world. Like, I really do believe that. And so when you're talking about energy, and look at Tootie's energy, I mean, she's always a bright light, a beautiful spirit, showing up on the calls, etc. 80, you mentioned as well. There's another great example of somebody who has chosen to have good vibrations, like good energy. She's in a habit of being happy, waking up happy. She's a private mentoring client of mine, and she told me, she says, I just wake up happy. How many other people wake up happy? Mark says when he wakes up in the morning, he chooses to smile, right? Think about how that would change your life, waking up in the morning and then deciding to smile. What happens to most people that wake up in the morning and they start dreading, dreading what's happening or what's not happening in their life, and they're upset by it. So energy is expressed. It's something that's within all of us, but you really get in touch with something that you would absolutely love. Like Tanya had said earlier, I mean, she's got a passion there. This is something that she would absolutely love. So that's really important. The other question was about managing it when you go off the rails. Everybody goes off the rails. Doesn't matter who you are. I've seen Bob Proctor go off the rails. I've seen, many of the greats, go off the rails. It happens. I think it's important to understand, that. But here's what's really, really important. Be easy on yourself. Do not get upset with yourself. Do not whip yourself, criticize yourself, judge yourself. Let it go. It's not going to serve you. Just make a new decision that in this moment, you're going to do better, because you can't do anything about the moment that just passed. What you can do is deal with this present moment. And in this present moment, just be better. And I didn't say do better. I said be better. And I said be better on purpose, because it's not so much what you're doing that's going to make a difference in your results. It's who you are being. It's beingness that produces the havingness in our life. So really pay attention to that. So I'm really easy on myself. I may, even for a moment, it's not that I don't get upset at myself. I may, for a moment, like, oh, Peggy, you know better than that, but let it go, get back on track, get back on the bike, and just, keep going. I like the movie Finding Nemo, with that little character, Dory, who said the blue fish. And she just says, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. I find inspiration in Dory.
Yeah, but you also have, Peggy, so many like different tools at your disposal. I know you've probably got tons there just now. I look at your background there. There's loads of money. I look at the Emmy Award, Oscar Award, sorry. Like I look at all these tools as well. Obviously, you're using these tools to build up that belief and that alignment. But what does a typical, you talked there about concept of self and listening to your Power Life script, but what other tools do you use to remain that really successful entrepreneur and that person that's really operating at a consistently high level? And for anybody here that wants to kind of whether they are like a Mark, really successful entrepreneur already, or somebody that's just on the journey, what do you recommend as the best tools to get the best possible last ounce of goodness out of yourself and really maximize your potential so you're not wasting a minute?
Good question. My number one tool is the Power Life script. I mean, that's always going to be my number one tool. It's the most effective thing that I've ever used in all the years that I've been, studying and applying these materials. But another thing that you can do is, and it's very similar to what I shared earlier about what Mark is doing with the smiling, factor, is we can actually move our physical body in a way that'll change how we're feeling, like the way you're holding yourself, as you're walking, as you get up from this call today, stand tall, sound proud, stand as if you're the person that has already accomplished that which you desire. Yeah, do the victory pose. That's what Tootie's doing right now. Like, if you look up and you put a smile on your face and you put your arms outstretched like this, you can't help but feel good. You will feel good, right? That's a good way of just changing how you feel in an instant, like just like that. So I love that one. Thank you, Tootie, for doing that and for demonstrating how beautiful that is and how well it works. And also keeping the reminders around you, because what happens is you're taking in information all the time while you're consciously awake. You're taking in information through your senses. That's your sight, that's your hearing. So if you're somebody who listens to the news all the time, it's very negative, it's very destructive, puts you into icky, energy. Lots of devastating things. I mean, there's really no good news channel. There's one that's constant negative news that's on all the time, that my husband seems to have fallen in love with since COVID for some reason. And so, that you've got to be aware of what you have in front of you. So yes, I have the Oscar behind me. I have, statements over here. I've got statements over here. I got signs over there. They're on my mirror. They're beside the bed. They're there as reminders. So even if you put a statement of some sort, somewhere that you see every day. Like if you work from home, as I do, and you're going to your little girl's room or bathroom every day, put something on the mirror there, put something on the toilet seat, like put something that you're going to see it every single day. It'll be a great reminder. I mean, it sounds silly, but like I remember one day seeing something that talked about how many times we urinate during the day. I mean, it may sound like a strange thing to talk about, but hello, you're going in there several times a day, and I drink a lot of water all day long. I need to get more. And so, put these reminders around to remind you of how incredible you are and how you've already accomplished these things. But I listen, like as soon as I wake up in the morning, I will smile now. Mark inspired me. I really did love that, Mark. I really, really love that. And then I listen to my audios that are on my Power Life script. And Mark was telling us the other day, he's got several of them as well. And so I have eight audios that are on my Power Life Script application, which is available for any Apple users phone. It's a free app called Power Life Script. And I listen to meditation. I do a meditation. First thing I do now in the morning is meditate. And then I go into my sequence of audios, but my Power Life Script is on repeat. So it's going over and over and over again. I do affirmations. I do power move every day. It's a physical move. I study every single day. And I look for ways of helping another. Like I loved when Roddy suggested on Monday we do this event today. Absolutely is going to be my answer. If I'm available, absolutely is my answer. And I love serving people. I love finding ways to better serve people. I feel that, going from my doctorate as an example and going through these incredible materials, it's just helping expand my consciousness. In fact, the university sent me all the materials in electronic form, but I ordered them in print form too, so that I could also, I just got them last night. They're over there on my credenza. And so having the expansion of consciousness, I study programs as well, different things that can help us in our business. And so those are all the things that really help contribute to growth, is ensuring that you're doing those disciplines. Years ago I created a daily discipline checklist. We have that in our other programs, and I think it's important to have that because it's like later I have to go out and get a passport. I have to pick up some cash for our cleaning lady and do a couple other things. I made a list, right? Now, why do we make lists? To remind ourselves to do those things. And then when you have a list, what do? You check it off, right? Check, 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 check. That's what a daily discipline checklist can do for you as well. So, write down there, you're going to do your meditation. You're going to listen to your Power Life script. You're going to do your visualization. You're going to do your affirmations. You're going to do your gratitude, like whatever it is that you're doing. And there's multiple ways of getting to the same result. But remember what I said earlier, it's really, you got to be in the state of having it. It's already here. That's most important. So how you're doing that is how you're doing that.
Beautiful, yeah. I think as well too, it's important, talking about tools there as well too. In all of our programs, I'm thinking the one that kind of came to mind most was Skipping Levels and the Mind Conditioning Accelerator program. These are tools which they're not just designed to give you information, they are very much designed for you to apply. And I
So
think
true.
that's so important. We're not just giving you information
So
to just kind
important.
of fill your time up, but it's
Oh my
designed
God.
to, because when you're vibrating at that level, you're going to attract that level. If you're vibrating at this lower frequency, you're going to attract that lower frequency. So everything that Peggy's put together, whichever program you're in, it is designed to really help align you with the good that you want. So Mind Conditioning Accelerator program is a 30-day program. So that would take you up to what? Start of December if you were keen on that. Again, it's all applicable for you. So if you're keen on that, mindconditioningaccelerator.com, or speak to Kayla. She's on this call as well too. She'll drop the link in there for you. More than welcome to book a call with her. We've got lots of different options for you, lots of different programs, lots of things that can really accelerate it for you. My advice to all of you is if you have that desire, don't let as we've talked about today, that resistance of how much is it going to cost me or anything else, put that aside, make the first step and really take action and demonstrate that you're serious. And I know all of you are, but really go that extra yard because it's going to make the big difference. And don't allow the fear and the worry and the struggle of what will people say, or I don't have the money, or I do have the money but I don't have the time, or whatever else comes up, just push that aside to say, we were having a conversation the other day with Peggy, and I sort of jokingly said, "You're not some, new kid off the block," basically. Didn't mean to say that as because she's old or anything, but just because she's so experienced in this, and she is the one person that does have skin in the game and does have the results, and probably one of the few people that's still alive that's got, not there's not many around, Peggy, is there? Now, that's probably a question for you, is how many people are around when you first started studying that are still around
Yeah,
now?
that's
Probably
true.
not so many. And when I think about it too, and this was another question as well, like when you first started, like personal development and
True.
personal growth, like it was not really on the shelves. It wasn't so readily available as it is now. I remember Mary saying like you had to almost go to like the witchcraft
Yes,
section in the library to kind of get
that's true.
access to these materials. Now it's everywhere, but yeah, how have you seen the expansion of this? And obviously, like we said,
Yes,
everybody's entitled to teach it and coach it, but I think it's always important to be
right.
mindful of the results, like what Bob said. If you want to be a multi-millionaire, we'll go to a multi-millionaire, or you want to be a successful author, go to a successful author. And I think that's the difference maker here,
Hey,
is that, not that I need to blow your trumpet, but you've got the results, and there's so many people out there that are teaching this that don't have that results, and I just want to kind of distill that to people so that they do understand that. Peggy's probably one of
yeah.
the few people that's sort of got that real association with Bob and all these people as well, and really understands it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I see the names that are coming here. I think Gay retired actually, but I think Dennis Waitley's still alive. Someone was talking about him the other day. Les Brown, I think he's still doing seminars. Brian Tracy as well, for sure. When I think about the people that I've studied, yeah, most of them have passed on. And I have no issue with my age. Like, I don't feel anything negative about it. I, in fact, love it. I embrace it. I think it's a beautiful thing, whereas other people don't necessarily have that philosophy. So I'm not going to hide, what my age is. I'll be 66 in a couple months. And I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful to be here. I'm very grateful to serve. I could definitely retire if I want to, but I don't want to. I love what I do more than anything. I'm passionate about it. And yeah, you're neither old or young or think he makes it so, Tootie. You're absolutely right about that. And when you talked about results, I think that's really important. One of the things that I've observed, and I've been online since 95, is that there are a lot of people that are in this in this business, and that they're putting their flag in the ground and saying, I'm a success coach or whatever. And it's not that they can't provide good guidance. I know there are some people out there that are very likely really good teachers, but I think what it comes down to is results, as Roddy you're talking about, is by their fruits you will know them, which is a quote that Bob used to say so much. And also what's in their heart. Like, do they really want to help people? I think he can tell by some of the speakers, teachers, are they only in it because they want to earn a buck, or are they doing it because they absolutely love it? Are madly in love with the materials, which I am. And I'm in love with the materials because it saved my life and changed my life. And it didn't just save my life once, it saved my life on a number of occasions. In fact, 3 years ago, these materials did save my life. I mean, I was heading in an opposite direction real fast, and I had radiation poisoning, and I was hospitalized, and I was very, very sick. I couldn't eat, couldn't drink, or if I did, I would vomit immediately, and very, very serious danger of being, and it went on for a long time, for weeks, in fact, until I said to my husband, you have to call an ambulance. Like, I am in such bad shape. And he did. And so fortunately, the having the depth of understanding that I do, and understanding we're going to have challenges in our life. They're just a part of the cycle of life. And it's not that they're going to, bring you down or potentially do something even worse. It's, what are you going to do about it? Right. I immediately started looking for the gift. What's the blessing in this experience, which I know was probably a very strange thing to say. I never asked myself, why me? Never, ever, ever ask that question, why me? And not that I was saying, oh, I'm really grateful that this gift has been attracted into my life. No, because I don't want to attract more of it. Just grateful for the depth of understanding that I have. Like the study of the materials is one thing, but the other part is really the application. It doesn't matter how much studying you're doing. And I've seen people that have been in the study and are proud of themselves for being great students. And that's wonderful for sure. But what are you doing with it? Even yesterday, I was reading something. I don't remember which book it was, but while I was reading it, it may have been this book called Prosperity by Charles Fillmore, which is part of my thesis study. And as I'm reading, and this was something that I did over the years of studying the materials, as I'm reading, here's what I'm thinking. Okay, understand that that's necessary, but what is your suggestion for the how? So how, right? This is really where I feel that's what makes a difference with what we do as well. I'm not saying other people don't do it as well, but I think it's important to understand, how do you turn the fear into faith? How do you think prosperously when you're swimming in debt, right? Do you, and that can be hard, like really challenging. I know I felt that, like when you just want to pull the covers over your head and not get out of bed. I've been there. I know what that feels like. How do you do it anyway? And what do you do about it? How do you stop looking at present results and only give attention to what you desire? This is really important. It's the application. It's the application that really creates the transformation. Hey, that's a great quote. It's the application that creates the transformation. We can have that as a Peggy quote. It's the application that makes the transformation. That's really where the difference is. The difference lies in, it's not so much what you're learning, it's what are you doing with it? Are you applying it? Are you implementing it? And not just today, every day, every single day application. It's so important and so essential for growth and so important for manifesting desirable results.
Brilliant. I know we're getting near the top of the
Yes.
hour. We've actually got a epitome
Another class.
on our
Yes.
call, which is wonderful. We're going to see quite a few of you on that call. But just to kind of bring this to a close, Peggy, what would be your one advice to somebody that, obviously this is a blocks gone seminar, but if there was one piece of sort of valuable information that you could kind of leave somebody with, that last impression, just to really, maybe they're looking at trying to, make 2024 the best year ever and they're aware that they've got blocks, what would be your one kind of piece of advice to really make the biggest difference to them and really get going, like as of today, right now, this second?
Yeah. Yeah. Make a decision that it's going to be your best year ever. Make a decision that you're going to take the next 2 months and it's like Bob used to say, the reason why people don't take their annual income and make it their monthly income is because they don't accept that idea. They don't believe that they can. But is it possible? Definitely it's possible. And that and so much more. So where does it start? It starts with, you got to make a decision. You have to make a decision that this is already done. This is, even though you won't know how, you don't have to know how, make a decision. So that's really, really important. Jackie just wrote, nothing happens until you make a decision. That's so important. I love it. And then you have to, get on with the work. And if you're unclear or you need direction, then get into our programs, either Skipping Levels or Mind Conditioning Accelerator. Private mentoring obviously is a different level of growth. And we created some new bundles with our private mentoring, something new that we hadn't done. And Roddy's created the page for that, where we're creating the fast track 90-day private mentoring option. And then we have a 6-month offer. And then we only have a couple spots for the annual. But if somebody wants to work with me over the next year, we have that available too. And Skipping Levels is a program. It's a 6-month program, and it's for those that want to have a quantum leap in their results. You can check it out by going to skippinglevels.com. And maybe, Roddy, you can put the link in the chat box that explains the different options for the private mentoring as well. But I know that the only reason why my life changed is because, I found a great mentors, many actually, but mostly Bob. Bob Proctor was the greatest mentor that I had. And I applied, what I was learning. And well, thank you, Michelle. Michelle wrote, skipping levels was amazing. It changed my life. Yeah, there's a number of people that have been
Yeah, it's
in
been.
skipping levels.
I think that was the one program that has been consistent since I've been at DDI, and the people that have gone through that program and the results that they've got's been extraordinary. Genuinely, it has. Sometimes you occasionally like that you do get surprised just by what actually happens in that program during that 6 months. There's been so many transformations and so many really remarkable changes in 180 days. So
Right?
again, that is available. There are places available just now that'll take you through into next year as well too. Again, have a chat with Kayla or Vladdy if that's something that you're keen to go on. But overall, I just want to thank everybody for this call today, for being here. It's been absolutely brilliant. It's a slightly different format that we've had today, but I really trust you've taken great value from Peggy. We absolutely love serving you. We love being a part of your journey. We love seeing the results, the transformations, the manifestations, everything that we're been talking about today. And as Peggy said, that wonderful quote, the application that makes the transformation. So use this information today. Don't just gather it, apply it. Like I say, reach out to us if you're keen on finding out more about more information about what we do, what Peggy offers, and the different kind of services that she's got available to you. So thank you, Peggy. As always, a real pleasure to co-serve alongside you, and thank you very much for allowing me to pop some questions to you.
Oh, that was awesome, Roddy. I really loved it. It was so much fun. Were you a little nervous about doing this today? I'm curious.
Yeah, I wondered where we were going to go on the questions. Sort of had some prepped and some that just kind of came off, just letting it
Right.
flow, as you say, letting it flow, opening up for spirit and divine guidance. So putting it into practice, what we teach, which is so important in
I
everything.
love
So
that. Well, I was thinking about Ronnie was a client of mine years ago, and I remember you in the little Zoom room and your little screen and your little square there. And this morning as I was getting ready and I was thinking that we're going to do this style with you interviewing me, and I wondered how you felt about it. And because I know you've continually grown, you're continually open and receptive to, like, you're always a yes, 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 whatever it takes kind of thing. And I really appreciate that about you. I'm so blessed. I'm so blessed. And I really appreciate all of you guys for thanking the team as well, because I don't do this alone. I'm really blessed to have attracted these incredible people into my life. Roddy, of course, and Kayla, who's also my daughter-in-law. What a blessing she is, the mother of my grandchildren and the wife of my son, people that mean the most to me in the world. And then Vladdy, who, as you know, is an incredible being and always here to support and to serve as well. So really grateful for all of you guys, and look forward to seeing you again. Thanks so much.